my gosh, it's a new year, 2018. Hopefully some of you guys are taking advantage of this, what I call illusionary reset. I've never been one for New Year's resolutions. However, this year I thought I would do something different, and actually I didn't jot things down, but I have things in terms of memory, what I want to change. And part of, I guess I'll call it a New Year's resolution. What I want to do in 2018 is actually experience more. I live in my head a great deal, meaning I learn a lot. I spend a lot of time studying, but I don't actually go out and do things. So I thought this year would be a different year. So I've actually made some plans, not concrete plans, but decided to go on a cruise. I've never been on a cruise before, and that's something that I've always wanted to experience. And so I think 2018 will be the year for that to happen. Yeah, so I mean, my life, I don't, I guess you could say I don't get out much. So growing up, there wasn't this huge thing where we travel and go and see places and things like that. So I've only been on an airplane a couple of times, actually a few times, and it's only because someone wanted me to be somewhere else. So it's not like I was like, oh, I want to go here, let me buy a plane ticket. No, it was basically for work. They wanted me to go somewhere to do something, and so I did it, and that was it. So I thought, 2018 should be different than what has been. And it's interesting because I came to this conclusion based on the stuff that the research that I do, the things that I learn, especially in the spirit world. Learning about how long it actually takes for one to come back to Earth. And we're talking thousands of years, depending on our progression, how fast or slow we progress, and move into the different dimensions that allows for that to happen. And it's like, wow, that's a long time. But then, listening to, celestial spirits and other spirits who are not even celestial spirits, once you get to a certain point and you're experiencing so much more than you ever could on Earth, you don't really want to come back here because the experience is so much greater. It's like once you've experienced something that's amazing, you don't want to go back to what you would consider mediocre. And so I was like, well, I just want to take advantage of the time that I have here while I'm here, because I feel it's important to experience whatever you're experiencing to the fullest, to the max that you possibly can. And I was talking to a friend of mine actually yesterday, and it was interesting because we were having a conversation about sort of something like this, where you go to college, you go there to complete a task, and then you move on. And sometimes you're so focused on the studies you don't actually enjoy the process of being in college. Just being present, I guess you can say. We're so focused on the end result, we don't focus on what we're actually doing at the time. We just want the end result. And let's face it, most people go to college not because they want to go to college, because they want to get the piece of paper that will allow them to do other things in the future. But in that process, they don't acknowledge what they're doing when they're doing it. It's just, a routine. Gotta study, gotta test, gotta study, gotta test, gotta study, gotta test. But you're actually surrounded by your peers, you're having different experiences, and usually when you're in college, you're exploring and experiencing things that you never have before, especially freedom. If you're, leaving home for the first time. So there's just a lot of things that are taken for granted, and so that's why this year I wanted to do something different, and actually experience being here, because I can learn about the spirit world all day long, at some point I'm going to get there, but did I focus so much on it to where I did not enjoy my life here while I am here? Does that make sense? So that's my 2018, I guess, New Year's resolution. Just experience more, and be more honest and more truthful with myself, because you can't. I made a post, and it was regarding which one was it? I made so many. It was on my Instagram. I can't remember. Oh wow, the skies look amazing blue. Wow, I didn't even notice that. About trusting your feelings. I'm hearing a lot and seeing a lot actually on Facebook, about trust your feelings, get in, be one with yourself and trust your feelings, trust your gut. And I'm not a believer of always trusting your feelings, because your feelings misguide you, but the only reason why your feelings misguide you is because you're not being honest with yourself. If you want true feelings, then you have to be truthful with yourself. If you're living a delusional life, then you're going to get emotions that are going to be false. They're not going to be true. And so therefore, you're not going to always want to trust your feelings if you are not honest and truthful with yourself. That's how it works. That's why when you trust your feelings and you get burned, it's because you're not being honest with yourself on something. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So many times people say, I trusted my feelings, that I went with my gut and I always get burned. Well, the people who are always getting burned are the people who are not living in truth for themselves. So there's something they're not honest with. Therefore, they're not able to truly have feelings that will guide them in the direction that is beneficial for themselves. So if you live a lie, you will always end up with some kind of crap happening, because you have to be truthful. That's the only way you're going to benefit yourself. That's the only way you're going to be able to progress, is if you are truthful with yourself. So whatever it is, be honest about it. I know this are acting cray over here. It's not that serious, buddy. So I guess that's my advice for 2018 is just be honest and truthful with yourself, so that you can move into a place that is more conducive to a positive life. I was, the friend that I was talking to, he said, he finally he's gay, and he finally came out to his sister, and he feels much better now. It's like, it's not, he said once he did that, things started changing in his life. Like, people moved away that were negative, other people came in, and it's interesting because last night was actually the first night in years since we hung out, and it was like out of nowhere. So it was just like, oh, let's go have coffee, but it was just weird. It was just because we hadn't really chatted or spoken in years. I think like 3 years maybe it went by. I think about 3 years, which is a long time, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere you just meet for coffee. So, but the thing is, he changed some things in his life. He's becoming more honest and more truthful with himself, which means he can attract more honest and truthful people to him. And so I know, like, back, when we used to talk, there were some things that I wasn't being honest and truthful about. And as I started to change and become more honest and truthful with myself, people started leaving. And it's just amazing how the universe works, how the law of attraction works. So we were a match at one point because we were both not being truthful with ourselves. And then I started to change, and then he had to exit my life because he was no longer what am I looking for? Law of attraction match. And so recently, and we're talking like within the last month, he's made, some changes, and here we are having coffee. So now we're a vibrational match. We're a match for the law of attraction to bring us together. And so, and this will happen, with your with your friends that you have, and even with family members, as you change, people will exit your life. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be gone forever. Because if you're changing for the better, for the better of your life, and they're not a match, they will exit. But if they change for the better, then they can come back into your life. It's like law of attraction will bring you guys together. And it, like I said, look, there was no reason why we stopped talking. We didn't have a fallout. We didn't have an argument. None of that even happened. We just stopped talking. That's it. And, and so when last night when we were going to have coffee, I was like, I already know what this is about. And, and then he started talking. And then I was like, that's what it is. That's, he's made some changes in his life. It's like, even though I know why people leave and come back into your life or come into your life for the first time, like, I already know why a change is happening, because I know all the people that I know, which are very few. And when someone comes in, I'm like, okay, there is a law of attraction match. What is that? So when he came back, I was like, okay, something's going on, because he's back. There's a vibrational match. And then he started talking. I was like, well, that explains it. He released some of the things that were holding him down. His views have changed. He's more positive. He's not as negative. And these are his words. These are my words. So, but I heard it in the conversation that we were having. So it's just, be mindful, be truthful with yourself. Be honest. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. That's the problem. That's what the facade is created for, so that we can appeal to other people. But we're not here to appeal to other people. Not forcefully, anyway. Trust me, if you're honest with yourself and truthful, you'll have so much to offer that you will automatically appeal to someone. You don't have to create anything, because the true you is that which will attract others to you. That's it. That is it. So, growing up, a certain way, like I grew up poor, and so as a child, I was always trying to shield that from other people. And so I always got these people who are not honest. And so that means I got burned a great deal, only because I was hiding something that was actually part or my reality at the time. It's no longer my reality now, but I'm not running around trying to, impress anybody with anything. So I'm just being me. I love to learn. So generally I attract people who want to learn. But it's not because I'm trying to be smart. I'm not trying to be anything. I'm just being myself. So I attract a more genuine crowd. These people are cool this morning. Boy, they New Year. They got it bad this morning already. Oh my gosh. Anyway, gosh, I've been on vacation for 2 weeks, and this is my first day back to work. So it feels kind of weird taking the route, after being able to sleep in almost every day for 2 weeks. That felt good. So yeah, that's my message. Just be honest and truthful. There was something else I wanted to talk about too. It has to do with being honest with yourself, and I cannot think as to what it is. If you're not honest with yourself, if you do not, that's what it was. Hold on a second. Now I lost it again. What was it? Shoot. I hate when that happens. Trying to do too many things. Trying to drive, be safe, and make a video. What was it? Oh my gosh. So I talked about that. has to do something with affecting others. Oh, if you're not honest with yourself and you don't admit the pain that you have within yourself, then that means someone else is going to have to experience that pain for you. In addition to you, in the end, dealing with that pain. So not only will you have to deal with it eventually, but you're also hurting people in the process because you don't want to deal with it. And I posted this on, I think on my Instagram, maybe Facebook or Instagram, I can't remember. These people are doing a lot today. Oh my goodness, maybe I need some coffee. I already had a cup, but clearly it wasn't enough. I went to bed like I was still on vacation, so I didn't go to bed at a decent hour. And still had to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Let's see. So growing up as children, we experience pain. And most times our parents don't want us or don't allow us to express that pain. Now, it's rare that a parent will actually allow their child to just cry it out. With what we would call a screaming brat. That's what we would call someone who allows their children to express their discontent with whatever's happening. That's how we label it. But for the most part, the majority of us, we're told or we're shown or forced to shut down our feelings, our emotions. And what that does is if we don't deal with it, that means others around us have to deal with it, and this is what happens with the next generation of parenting. We will yell at our kids, we will spank our children, we will punish them and cause pain. We will take things away, not in order to show them that that's not the way to operate, but to purposely cause pain. And sometimes if parents sometimes if a child does not respond the way that a parent thinks that they should respond to the pain, they'll inflict even more pain. And this is what I'm talking about. There is always going to be someone else who will experience pain if you don't deal with yours. And the first people to do it, or the first people to really get the brunt of it, are your children. And if you don't have children, it's going to be your spouse, or your partner, whoever. Because children first, because they can't defend themselves. That's just the way it works. Parents know, as an adult, you know that your child cannot defend themselves. And if they even try to, what you would call, talk back and say, hey, you know what, you're being mean, you'll get popped in the mouth. Parents don't like mirrors of themselves. They don't want anyone to show them, or especially their children, they don't want children to show them what they're actually doing. So that's what it smells weird out here. It always smells weird right here. Like a musty, this is very, like, musty, it's weird. Mold, maybe it's mold, I don't know. Anyway, so it's important to be honest with yourself and recognize the pain that you have within yourself. And that's what 2018 is about for me, is to actually acknowledge, like, that is a huge goal of mine, is to become more in touch with my emotions. Because growing up, I was completely detached from them for the most part, because after a while you learn you can't show your emotions. And so I've been working on this for a few years already, and I've already noticed a huge difference, especially in watching movies. I'm noticing it. And it tripped me out because oh my gosh, what was I watching? I was watching a movie with someone, and oh my gosh, what was that movie? Oh my goodness, it wasn't a scary movie, or it wasn't that scary, but it was the Chernobyl Diaries, I think. So I guess it was scary. But I was screaming. Like, there were parts I actually screamed out loud. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm glad my blinds are closed and nobody can see. Nobody can see me screaming. It was the funniest thing. Excuse me. Hold on. It was the funniest thing. I don't generally scream with, at movies. I don't react emotionally like that. And so, I'm always pretty detached, and I'm just watching it for what it is. But, like, I was actually being affected. I was like, oh my gosh. And inside, I was like, this is so great. This is so awesome, right? That I'm actually feeling something. And so that's what my 2018 is mainly about. Aside from, doing more, experiencing more physically. The emotional aspect of it is the biggest push for me, is to become more in touch and in tune with my emotions. And so far, obviously, I have made some progress, because the way I was responding to these movies, even emotional movies, like I was watching, I think it was Thelma and Louise, actually, and I was watching with my friend, and there was like a lot of emotional things, but there was so much emotional triggers that was happening from that movie, and I was like, wow. I was like, this is crazy, but I was like, this is so awesome, because along with the emotion came revelations. And it's interesting, because once you feel your emotions, you are taught so much comes up, and you're able to see things, and it was just really amazing to even, so then what happened was I started looking. I was like, okay, so let me Google some of the most emotional movies that there are out there, right? So I was Googling and, finding what was available to me in terms of like Netflix and stuff like that. And there was another movie called, what was the name of the movie? The Imitation Game. And it has the actor from Doctor Strange, and I love the movie Doctor Strange, so it was easy for me to watch that movie. But that brought up a whole bunch of stuff, and all the stuff that it was bringing up were emotions from when I was a child. Like, that's what was coming up, and that was the whole purpose. And I remember someone saying, it was actually AJ Miller, who said, it's good to watch movies and use it as a tool to bring up the emotions. Because he said, if it doesn't pertain to you, it won't bring up anything emotional. So, for instance, well, I won't use that. I won't use that example, because I'm not about to get into an online debate with people about anything right now. But the freeway's light. It's light this morning. It's true. If it doesn't pertain to you, it won't bring up any emotions. I love my horsies. So I started using movies to bring up the emotions, and it works. It really works. If you allow yourself to feel, like I said, I used to watch movies before and either hold back the emotions or purposely, be detuned from experiencing them. But now I'm just, however I feel. And then it's weird, because when you're watching a movie or you're watching someone experience something and it triggers your emotions, it's almost like you're pulling up a string from the dirt, and you're lifting it up, and you see this trail going all the way back to where it originates. And that's how it is with emotions. It just brings up stuff from the past, and it's tied to what you're experiencing or feeling in the moment with that movie, and that's how you get in touch with these emotions that you're not able to find on your own. Because look, let's face it, if you're an adult like myself, if you're like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and older, it's hard to get in touch with these emotions that are from long ago. Because you've suppressed them for so long, you haven't even thought about them. And then you're like, oh, well, it doesn't bother me because it happened and I don't feel anything from it. And because we've trained ourselves to be detuned from those emotions because they're painful. So if it works. Movies do work. So if you're fearful of spiders, if you are fearful of death, if you are fearful of, if you can't watch violence, there's a lot of things. And this is really interesting. It can be very, I don't know if I should take the freeway. My map isn't up. The freeway seems light. I'm not going to chance it. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. I think of Kelly every time, my friend Kelly, every time I lose train of thought. Blah, blah, blah. Movies, emotions, let's see. Something about emotions and how to get in touch with them. Anyway, it's hard to get in touch with those emotions that are so long ago. But when you do, it's important to want to get in touch with these old emotions because that's what's holding you down. Like literally, those are the bricks that are tied to your ankles as you're sinking further and further into your misery. You know, it's like you being in the ocean and these bricks are tied to your ankle and you keep falling and falling and it's hard to get out of it. That's what it is. So it's important to access these emotions and get rid of them. You cannot progress. You cannot truly progress if you're not releasing these emotions. So no matter how many self-help books you read, no matter how many seminars you go to, no matter how many gurus you follow, it's all worthless if you do not release the emotions that are causing you to seek out these things in the first place. Because they're still there. They are still there. So whatever temporary tool that you're using to mask or distract you from the pain that's actually within you. It's cold in here. You're not going to move forward. It's an impossible task. I mean, we can, it's like I had made a post on my Facebook that nobody liked, by the way. That was funny. I was like, there's some things I post that are just either they're too complicated for people to understand, or it's too confronting and they don't want to have anything to do with it. They're like, oh, I don't want to even acknowledge that I read that, so I won't even like it, But I don't post for likes, I post for information, so I know people are looking at it, but they don't have to respond. But I'm just saying there's a resistance, and they're not being honest about it, Anyway, I posted, we are confined to and by our souls. We are bound by it. So we cannot go any further than our soul will allow us to go. All right? So you may see people who have millions of dollars, cars and houses, and they're able to do all these different things because of their financial wealth. But if you look at TV, these are the people who are the most miserable people. They're arguing. I mean, really, because I watch Desperate Housewives of blah, 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 right? Whether it's Atlanta or Beverly Hills. Especially Beverly Hills is a really good one to really focus on. Because these people have everything. Like, they need and want for nothing. They have it all. Even in excess. But yet, they're arguing, they're talking about one another, they're tearing each other down. And so, no matter what they have financially, they are still bound by the pain of their soul. That's the extent of their happiness, whatever is within their soul. And if you're arguing and cursing out everybody and talking about everybody and tearing someone else down and mad because someone said this, trust me, their soul is dark. There's a great deal of pain in it. So this is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what you have around you. It doesn't matter your possessions. It doesn't matter whether you have what looks like the perfect family. If your soul is contaminated with a bunch of unloving things or experiences, which is now pain within it, it's like fog. That's all it is. Like all the unloving things that you've experienced, all the pain that you have, it's like fog. And so, like, I don't know, some of you have lived in fog, but, you know, growing up in Fresno, it gets pretty foggy. And so you're only able to see things that are next to you. You know, you can't see great distances because the fog is just too thick, and that's what pain is. It doesn't allow you to experience that which is beyond your vision. And so your feelings are the same way. It doesn't matter what. So the thing is, like, you can have all these things around you, your home, all your nice possessions, your family, your friends. They can be at arm's length or reach. But you can't truly feel the joy of it because it's just, you can't, your feelings can't go beyond what is near you. You just can't. So you have to clear out the fog before you can experience that which is greater in terms of feeling. It's, I don't know, if I'm explaining it correctly. I'm trying to use this fog thing. My brain is fog right now. Oh my gosh. But it's just important to get rid of this stuff because you can't experience life the way you want to experience life. Look, we buy all of these things because we feel it's going to make us feel better. That is true. But you can't actually feel the joy of it because your soul won't allow you to. You cannot go beyond your soul because you are your soul. You just can't. It's impossible. Which is why God has designed our soul in such a way, because the soul is made in love. The soul is designed to hold nothing but love. We choose to hold on to other things, and that is a choice. We hate because we want to hate. We hold a grudge because we want to hold a grudge. We're jealous because we want to be jealous. Like all these things that we do, all these hateful, unloving things, emotions that we hold, all these judgments that we have, it's all a choice. We do this to ourselves. Now, if we didn't hold on to this stuff, if we actually felt pain and released it by crying it out and letting it go, that's what let it go means. It doesn't mean ignore it. It doesn't mean not focus on it. And that's what New Age is doing right now. They're, don't focus on it. Don't focus on it. Don't focus on it. Abraham Hicks is big on that. Abraham Hicks has a lot of great stuff. A lot of New Age teachers, they have a lot of great information. But some of the major basic ones, they're wrong. They're just flat out wrong. And it's just wrong, And so people follow them. This is why I said no matter how many gurus you listen to and channel beings and books and seminars, it doesn't matter. Your pain is still there. And the thing is, once you pass, and that's one of the biggest things, is once you pass, you no longer have the houses. You no longer have the TVs and the video games and all the golf courses and whatever it is that you use to distract yourself from the pain. You understand? You don't have that anymore. And all you're left with is the pain. That's why it's so important to get rid of it now. And I'm not saying you can get rid of all of it, because there are things that you don't even know that are there, and you won't realize it until you get to the spirit world. But at least you give yourself a fighting chance. That's all. Just give yourself a fighting chance. Don't just throw your arms up and say this is it. There's more out there. There is a lot more out there. And You're going to experience it. Definitely you're going to experience it. The question is, how are you going to experience it? How are you going to experience what's more, you know? Or the more that's out there. That's what's important, is how you're going to experience certain things. Like this man crossing the street. This is not a happy dude. I can tell. You know, the thing is, you can look at people and know if they're miserable. I have a friend who we recently came into contact again, and it's interesting. You know, and his thing was, you know, he's been dressing really nice. I'm like, wow, you know, you look, you know, sharp, you know, y'all dressed up every time I see you. And he said, I'm trying to convey a message. And I'm like, okay. And so he wants to convey a message of maturity and responsibility. And so he's dressing in a way, he's using what people, I guess, judge. He knows what people judge. He knows how people operate. So he's trying to use that to manipulate them into thinking something. But that's the thing, is you can try to portray something, but if it's not true, it won't hold. It won't hold. Now, you can try to, you know, present, I'm mature, but as soon as you open your mouth, dumb shit's gonna come flying out, and whatever you work so hard to, you know, to convey goes out the window. And that's what facades are. Well, that's what facades are to me. I can see what people portray, and I can see the real them instantly. It's like, as soon as they start talking, it's like, all right, I see it. So what's the point? What's the point in pretending when the truth is right there, front and center? You know, the only people who are fooled are the ones who are trying to fool other people themselves. They don't want to see it because they don't want to see the facade that they are creating. That's why people get burned all the time. That's just how it works. Oh, I'm close to work. So, all right, I'm going to finish this video right now. I hope you guys have a great beginning of the year, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.